Perhaps the only city in the country named after a stick, Baton Rouge is a unique and fascinating capital city. In this series, I briefly cover a city's history, population, skyline, as well as a few things that make that city unique. Now, let's meet Baton Rouge. I always like to start by exploring how a city wound up being where it is today. Baton Rouge is located on the eastern bank of the Mississippi River on the first natural bluff upriver from the Gulf of Mexico. This allowed for the development of a city safe from seasonal flooding. In 1699, the French-Canadian explorer Pierre Le Moyne d'Iberville noticed a red post, which in French is called a Baton Rouge, that indicated the boundary between the Bayagula and Homa tribes. 20 years later, the French built a fort there and named it Baton Rouge after the red post. Control of the fort would change several times over the next several decades, being controlled by the English, Spanish, and French before eventually the United States about 9 years after the Louisiana Purchase. Nearly half a century later, Baton Rouge would become the new state capital of Louisiana. Today, Baton Rouge has a city proper population of about 222,000, making it the second largest city in Louisiana and the 18th largest state capital in the country. If you've seen many of my other videos, you'll know that I think metro population is a better indicator of a city's true size, and Baton Rouge has a metro population of about 871,000, making it just larger than El Paso, Texas. The largest industry in Baton Rouge is petrochemicals, and one of the country's largest refineries is located in the area. Perhaps the most recognizable company headquartered in Baton Rouge is Raising Cane's. What really puts Baton Rouge on the map for most people is the state's flagship university, Louisiana State University, or LSU. LSU does hundreds of sponsored research projects and is one of only 8 universities with master's programs for law, dental, medical, veterinary, and business. It's a well-known school for its athletic prowess and is the alma mater of athletes such as Shaq, Joe Burrow, and Lolo Jones. Call me shallow, but when it comes to cities, I think appearances matter, which is why evaluating a city's skyline is one of my favorite aspects of making these videos. Baton Rouge has a fine-looking skyline for its size, and it does have some record-breaking height in at least one category, which I'll talk more about in a minute. If you were to take the average height of its tallest 5 buildings, Baton Rouge would be ranked as the 74th tallest skyline in the country, just behind Lexington, Kentucky, and just ahead of Wilmington, Delaware. The tallest building in the skyline is the Louisiana State Capitol building, which at 450 feet tall is the tallest state capitol building in the whole country, beating out Nebraska's by about 50 feet. I think it's a beautiful building. The 90-year-old building houses government chambers, the governor's office, and also has an observation deck at the top for those wanting to take in a view of the city. Baton Rouge's state capitol building is certainly one of a kind, but it may not even be the most interesting state capitol building in the city. There is the old state capitol building, which looks like a medieval castle. Known as Louisiana's Castle on the River, the old state capitol building was built in 1852. During the Civil War, this castle even served as a prison for a time. Although Mark Twain wasn't a fan of the building, I loved that it looks so different from other state capitol buildings with its neo-Gothic architecture. The inside of the building also has a beautiful stained glass dome over the spiral staircase. Today, the building is a museum of political history. Another interesting museum is the Louisiana Art and Science Museum. The museum is located in a historic train depot and is on the National Register of Historic Places. The museum includes various art and science galleries, including a planetarium. I always love when cities find creative ways to use old historic buildings like this. Sitting in the Mississippi River adjacent to downtown is a Fletcher-class destroyer, the USS Kidd. It is the only surviving U.S. destroyer ship in its World War II configuration. It's one of only 3 Fletcher-class ships that the Navy decided to set aside as a memorial. Another place near Baton Rouge where you can take a step back into time is the LSU Rural Life Museum. The museum has a large collection of artifacts and 32 historic buildings to demonstrate how life was like in rural Louisiana in the 19th century. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the thing that puts Baton Rouge on the map for most people are the LSU athletics, football in particular. Tiger Stadium is the 5th largest college football stadium in the country, seating 102,321, which is only 450 seats less than the Ohio Stadium. It's the 7th largest sports stadium by capacity in the whole world. LSU has a live Bengal tiger as a mascot named Mike the Tiger. Mike lives in a world-class tiger habitat on the actual LSU campus, making him the only live tiger living on a college campus in the country. And lastly, I'll mention another museum, the Capitol Park Museum. The museum focuses on Louisiana history and includes several unique objects such as Louis Armstrong's childhood bugle, a Civil War submarine, and a wooden shrimp trawler. Well, that wraps up my video about Baton Rouge. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and check out some of my other videos about cities. And if you have a city you'd like to see an overview on, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.